right, so we are going to be coming from Judges 14, 4 and 15. I'm going to read it one more time. And he said unto them, out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not for 3 days expound the riddle. 15. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have he called us to take that we have? Is it not so? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessings you bestowed upon us. Thank you for the miracle of just allowing us to see one more day. Thank you for being present in our lives. Be with us right now. Be with us in this preaching moment. Be with our church. Be with our families. Be with our friends. Be with our families, friends, our culture, our communities. In this time in America, God, we need you more than ever. So we just say thank you. Be present with us right now in this church, in this preaching moment. May they get what they need from you and not from me. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So here we are. We're going to talk about Samson, and we're going to get to Samson eventually, but actually I want to focus on Samson's wife this time around. I'm going all around Samson, right? Like I haven't gotten to Samson yet, but we're going to actually talk about Samson's wife. And with that, we're actually going to talk about Samson's relationship with his wife. So what we're going to do is, see, because as I'm reading Samson and as I've been studying Samson, what I've realized is that we focused a lot on Samson's hair and his power. But really, what Samson is really about is Samson's relationships. The relationships that Samson had with his wife, the relationship that Samson had with the Philistines, the relationship that he had with his parents. It's all about what? Relationship. Today we're going to focus on the relationship that Samson had with his wife, and why Samson's relationship with his wife fell apart eventually. And then we're going to contrast that with what we were talking about last week, right? Because last week, what were we talking about? Manoah and his wife. And so we're going to see kind of a contrast between Samson's mother and father, their marriage, and Samson and his marriage. There's a compare and contrast. They're going side by side. So let's begin with, what are we talking about with Samson? So Samson is walking around doing whatever he's doing, and he sees this Philistinian woman, and he says, she's pretty. And he decides right then and there, without really knowing the woman, that he's going to what? Marry her. Okay? Let's just stop right there. I think we have been in such a hurry to let people into our lives that we don't stop to examine who they are as people. We don't really stop to figure out if this person is going to be really good to be in my life or not. Because we're in such a rush. Everything now in 2018 is go, go, go. Now. Everything is now. We're in such a rush to let everybody in the ether world know what we're doing, what we're eating, what we're shopping, things we like, what things we don't like. That we're so in such a rush to let people into our lives that we stop to forget to say, wait a minute. should I really be telling people this? Should I really be letting people who I don't know into my life, into my intimacy of life? Back in the day when I was younger, there was something called privacy. Things that you kept to who? Yourself. There were things that we would not, there were things that we knew, like, I remember back when I was younger, we used to fight all the time. It's not that fights were new in school. There was fights that were happening all the time. The difference is now that fight never ends. Why? Because now people have their phones and they're recording it, and now someone else is watching it. But it used to be, I got in a fight with somebody on the schoolyard, and then a couple of weeks later, we were cool. Everything was cool because everybody forgot, and you were on to the next fight, and you were on to the next thing, and everything had a chance to just calm down. But now, it's out on the internet, and now people are sharing it, and now people in India are now watching this fight, and now people are commenting, and now people are boosting it up, and there's no such thing as what? Privacy. That was one of the main things that I found to be Samson's downfall. He just let any woman into his life. He never really stopped to think about, is this woman really good for me? We found that with this woman. We found that with Delilah. He never really stopped to think, is this woman going to be a benefit to me? Or is she going to be a what? We do that so often. In our quest for a real relationship with people. In our quest with some real connection with people. We forget to think and say, wait, maybe this person shouldn't be this close to me. You say, but wait a minute. We're all brothers and sisters, right? Let's look at Jesus as an example. Jesus had the multitudes that he was feeding, right? But how many was really close to Jesus? He only had 12. Now, he had the multitudes. When he was up on doing the Sermon on the Mount, he had maybe thousands of people, hundreds, thousands. He was feeding them. He was doing all of this to them. But in his quiet moments, he really only had how many? So Samson is walking, and he sees this woman, and I assume she must have been really pretty. I mean, I don't know, because I never seen the woman, but for Samson to look out across the field, see this woman, and be like, that's the one, this girl must have been gorgeous, right? She must have been what I call a hitter, okay? She must have been a hitter. And Samson, it doesn't even really say he held really a conversation with the woman. Right? It doesn't really give too much detail as to what Samson saw this woman, goes to his dad and says, Dad, guess what? I'm going to get married. And Dad's like, to who? And he goes, this woman I met in the field. And Dad's like, look, you could have almost any woman here. Which kind of gives you the feeling that Samson was probably a good-looking guy himself, you know? And he's like, you could have any woman within your culture. Why do you have to go outside your culture? Let's stop right there. I'm putting pins all over the place. So many times, I see Christians dating and marrying non-Christians. Okay. I'm not telling you who to love. Am I telling you who to love? I'm not telling you who to love, baby. Love whoever you want. But if I'm going to church every Sunday, I'm going to church and I'm going to Bible study, and I'm believing in this word, and I'm trying to live my life by this word, and I'm trying to raise my kids by the Bible, and I'm with some dude that thinks that the Bible is nothing but fairy tales, okay, how is that relationship going to survive? I'll tell you how it's going to survive. Either he's going to be a Christian, or I'm going to eventually not be a Christian, or that relationship is eventually going to die. Now, most of the time, the person that's a non-Christian doesn't convert. So people say, I'm going to change him. No. Most of the time, that person changes you. Because every time you get up to get ready, he's got something else that you've got to do instead. Every time you're about to go to Bible study, it's an argument. It's an argument until finally you don't want to argue no more. So what's easier? It's easier to just not. And then before you know it, 2 years pass by, 3 years, and now you're like, man, I haven't been to church. But now something happens, see? That's how it happens, right? Someone gets sick, a car crash, and now you get snapped right back into church. But guess who's not snapped back? Let me tell you, it's easier to just not even start that relationship. It's easier to just pick someone who believes what you believe. Now listen, a Christian and a Muslim, they can be best of friends, but we don't believe in the same thing, man. A Christian and a Buddhist, we can be good friends, but we don't believe in the same thing, man. We got two different beliefs. And we can love each other all we want, but those beliefs are going to come out when we start raising kids. That's true. Are we going to raise a kid Muslim? Are we going to raise a kid Christian? And then they say, oh, we're just going to raise them in the middle. What's in the middle? Either they're going to be saved or you're not. Either it's going to be Muhammad or it's going to be Jesus. Which one is it going to be? Oh, we're just going to let him decide. Decide what? You raise him up in the way he should go. Now listen, two Muslims should be together. Two Buddhists should what? Be together. Do your Buddhist thing, baby. But you want to be a Buddhist and a Christian, then you're going to have some problems. Our whole culture is different. Our whole way of life is different. Our whole thinking is different. Because everything for us as humans is based on what? Salvation. What happens after we die. And if I don't believe in Jesus, and if I don't believe that there is a heaven, and you do, then we're going to live what? Completely different lives. Samson thought that because he found this woman to be beautiful, he would just work out the rest. He thought that love could just conquer all of this other stuff that was going on. But I'm going to tell you right now, you know those little things that says love conquers all? No. Not when it comes to what? Faith. Because my faith in God is going to trump my love for you every time. Because I'm not going to hell for you, sweetie. I'm not going to let go of my Savior for you. So you blame what? You blame Samson's wife? In that time, wives didn't really have an opportunity to say who they were going to and who they were not going to marry. So you blame who? You got to blame Samson. You say Samson should have married somebody within his culture. But you love who you love. And now you see what happens. So they're getting married. Samson's dad says, hey, baby. And that's a whole nother topic I can go on to Samson's dad. Because Samson's dad just lets him be what? An adult. You're an adult. I gave you advice. You didn't take it. I just got to what? Let you go. He'll learn. I'm sure he looked over at his wife and said, he'll learn. They have this big wedding. And Samson's like, look, I got an idea. I got a riddle. If you can solve the riddle, I pay you. If you solve the riddle, if you can't solve the riddle, you pay me. Now, her relatives could have just simply said what? No. But they say, yeah, let's do it. Because they figure Samson, this guy, he's from another culture, he's probably pretty stupid, and he gives them a riddle that's super hard to solve. And they can't solve it. They can't solve it. So what do? They go to Samson's wife, and they say, Samson's wife? I like that, because she doesn't even get a name, right? She doesn't even get a name. Samson's wife? Yes. You tell us what the riddle is, or we kill you, and we kill your father. You tell us what the riddle is, or we kill you, and we kill who? Your dad. Dang, that's messed up, man. And they didn't just say we're going to kill you. They said, look, there's a lot of ways that I might want to die, you know? There's a lot of ways that I might want to die. But a burning? So, out of fear, Samson's wife goes, pries the riddle out of this man, and tells them. Yeah, that's where I want to get to. I've discovered one of the keys to any relationship, whether it be marriage, whether it be friendship, whether it be love, is communication, or the lack of communication. Usually, one of the first things that breaks down when people get angry with each other is what? Communication. See, Samson's wife had a real problem. Samson's wife had a real, because she knew that these people were serious when they said they were going to burn her and her dad. She knew that they were serious, and she had a real problem. But I'll suggest to you that because of the lack of communication between her and Samson, she handled it the worst way possible. How did she handle it? Through trickery. Why didn't she just go to Samson and say, this is what's happening? Think about it. All she had to do was go to her newly wedded husband and say, husband, this is what's going on. Let's fix it. Then Samson would have had the opportunity to fix it. When you look at Manoah, his wife had the same problem. An angel came to her. She didn't know it was an angel at the time. Some man that she thinks may have been an angel came to her, said some stuff that she had no understanding about. She was in trouble. She was in way over her head. And what did she do? She could have used the same tactics that Samson's wife did in trickery, right? But instead, what did she do? She went directly to her husband and told her exactly what was going on. And those two worked it out, what? Together. When you contrast the two, you can see a good relationship versus what? A bad one. In Manoah's relationship, they had a problem. They didn't understand. She didn't understand the problem. She takes it to her husband. They both don't understand the problem. So they take it to what? God. Samson's wife has a real problem, life or death problem for her, and then doesn't take it to Samson, tricks Samson into telling her, thinks she's saving somebody, but guess what happens in the end? I'll just cut right to the end. She still gets burned by these people. Why? Because Samson gets mad. And Samson goes and he breaks down all these villages, steals the money from the Philistines to pay them. The Philistines get angry and give his wife to another man. Samson comes back to get his wife, and they're like, we're sorry, we gave your wife up. He's like, you did what? And he wreaks holy havoc on them. And they said, you brought this man to us, and they ended up still burning her and her dad. Her treachery led to her own destruction. But it was the lack of communication, the lack of trust between the two in the relationship that really destroyed it. Because I'll tell you, reading what Samson, if you read Samson, I'm pretty sure that if his wife came to him and said, Samson, they're threatening my life, what do you think Samson would have done? He probably would have just ended them. Yeah. He probably would have just walked in, said, you're threatening my wife, and pretty much burned them to the ground. And Samson's wife would still be alive, and there would be no what? Delilah. Be no Delilah. Samson would have had the opportunity to at least address the problem. It is the lack of communication between people that leads to the breakdown of the relationship. Well, I'm not going to call her. I'm not going to call him. And then before you know it, now, so much time has passed, it becomes weird to call, right? It's gotten to a point where you don't even remember what you were arguing about. You just remember what? The emotion of it. But I'm not going to call. And then before you know it, that whole relationship is dead and done. When it could have been saved with just a simple conversation. So when we look at Manoah and his wife, and Samson and his wife, you can see how communication can either bring you closer together. Because remember, last week we said Manoah succeeded, right? Manoah raised Samson right. He didn't know what to do. His wife didn't know what to do. They asked God. God sent the angel back. They figured it out. Samson was betrayed of that opportunity, and therefore, in the end, Samson's marriage was ruined. And she ended up losing her life anyway. Two things. Be careful who you let in your life. And those that are in your life, be sure to keep that communication open. Or else that relationship is already what? Dead and gone. Thank you. All right. So let's go to questions and hopefully answers. Golly, I don't know.
So are you saying
a little louder?
So are you saying that because they were different cultures and he didn't know her, that's why she resorted to treachery instead of just asking?
Honestly, it doesn't say, so I don't know.
But that seems like that's what you're assuming.
It feels that way. But it also could be because they didn't even know each other. It could also be that that's just who she was. It could be that she just was a person that didn't communicate. Samson doesn't know any of this stuff because Samson don't even know her. So, but what I am saying is Samson probably would have had a better ride of that relationship if he had stayed within his own culture. Because he didn't know her, and he didn't know her culture. So he didn't know that people would actually burn her to a crisp. He didn't know that they would just give her to his friend. I mean, golly, like all this stuff, he had no, how would he have known? Because he didn't understand what? Their culture. But the reason why she actually did the treachery, nobody knows. Because it could be cultural, or it could be that's just who she was. She was just a treacherous person.
Kind of reminds me of, no disrespect to anybody on the web, but it kind of reminds me of, I heard about gypsies, there's some people, and there is an actual group of people, and this is like for real, because I've seen documentaries and they admitted to it, where they actually have a culture of stealing and tricking people out of their money. And that's just what they do. It's like an actual, and they raise their children to do it, and they've gone through, I mean, it was so bad that there's been many of cultures that wanted to kill off gypsies, just kill them off outright. It's a horrible thing. Like even in the Holocaust, those were like the first group of people to go because they just hated how they trick them. I mean, to the point where, and we saw a documentary where they admitted, like I've seen even on the street, like I go to the supermarket over here off of Century, and you'll see a woman there, and she looks really clean, and then she'll have her kids. They look really, and she has a sign, and I'm like, wow, they look really clean to be some homeless people, but they come every, they're there all the time. Or then I've seen a group, some people, and they have this similar look, so I'm like, it must be of the same culture. They'll come and say, oh, you have a bang, when I used to have a banged up car way years in college. Oh, I could take that dent out of your car. I know people know.
Don't do it. Whatever you do not stop and let them take the dent out.
They say, oh, I'll
ever
take the
do
dent
it.
out your car. Or it's just, and we even seen it where and that's just their culture. It's okay to trick, and they said it. Yeah, we trick people. Yeah, we'll lie and say such and such have cancer, just so we can get money. Yeah, we do welfare fraud. But that's okay. We gonna do what we got.
Now, as a disclaimer, I'm sure that there are many gypsies
there are many
throughout the world that are very, very nice people that are law-abiding and do not trick anybody.
Yes.
But there are a grouping of gypsies. Now, gypsies, if you're angry, you know it's true. There are a grouping of gypsies out there that will rob and steal you blind. Now, how does this relate to this, though? Let's say that I see this beautiful woman. She's walking, and I'm like, I'm going to marry her. And she's one of those gypsies that tricks you. I don't understand her culture. So I don't really know who she is. So when she tricks me, is it her fault or is it my fault? Thank you, it's mine. It's my fault. Because I should have took the time to do what? To get to know her. See, we put a lot of blame on Delilah. We put a lot of blame on Samson's wife. Because, Delilah cut his hair. Delilah cut his hair. No. I put the blame squarely on who? Samson himself. Get to know these people. Don't just jump into bed with anybody.
There you go.
Don't just spread your loving around. Free love for everybody. Well, that's free AIDS too, isn't it? That's some free hepatitis C jumping off.
That's true.
There's a rap song I was listening to, and the guy said that his friend got married at the age of 18, and everybody was laughing at him. But then his friend said, yeah, but I don't have to worry about going to the clinic and testing myself. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I'm good with my wife. You out there running the streets, but something to really think about. So, Samson's wife is like, we don't know what obviously her culture was one where if you don't do what we say, we burn you and your dad. Like, what did her dad have to do with it, right? But you say that her culture was one where if you don't do what the community says, we what? We will burn you and your dad. And Samson didn't understand that. Because he didn't understand their culture. Because if he had understood their culture, he wouldn't have even brought that whole riddle up. He probably would have just left it alone.
Yeah, that's another point. Yeah.
Other thoughts or questions? Loud.
Why did, as soon as he saw her, he thought he was going to marry her?
Beauty. That's a lesson for you as a young man. Okay? Not everything that glitters is gold, baby. Not everything that glitters is gold. No. His dad tried to tell him. Didn't his dad try to tell him?